So I've been on a long trip this weekend and I've not been able to, up until today, watch the Rebuild the Galaxy Lego series that was released on Friday on Disney+. To be honest, I not really kept track of this show, didn't watch the teaser trailer, didn't really look into it until about a week ago when someone brought it to my attention during one of my live streams. And I did ask the question on Twitter, should I react to the four-part series? And some people said yes, some people said no. I decided in the end not to, just because I wasn't entirely sure what to expect. And again, I'm a little hesitant with some of the less serious shows to kind of put my reaction out there, because especially if it's a shorter show, which these were, they were like 20, 25 minutes long. I never know if there's going to be enough content to do a reaction. So I decided to just watch them and then put my thoughts onto camera afterwards, which is what this is. This is going to be sort of me talking about that little mini-series and what I thought of it. And, again, coming into this not knowing much, it wasn't what I expected. Now, in my mind, from the way people described it to me, was that it is somewhat of a what-if kind of scenario for Star Wars, which I have said for many years now, as many people have, that having a what-if series for Star Wars would be a fantastic thing. It would draw in the audience because it doesn't have to be super serious, but it can answer a lot of questions, or at least indulge a lot of people with scenarios that, we've wanted to know about for many years. What if Anakin didn't turn to the dark side? And what if Luke did turn to the dark side? All those kinds of questions that rattle around the old Star Wars brain. And obviously there's been a fair few Star Wars YouTubers who've made videos on those kinds of subjects, and it's something that I'm considering dipping my toe into. They do take a lot of effort and time, but that's something that I am considering. So yeah, I've not been able to kind of watch it straight away. Again, I've had a very busy weekend, and I've got another busy weekend coming up later on. And so I thought I'll sit down while I've got a few hours and just watch it. Because, again, it doesn't seem like it's only 4 episodes long. And I can't find any information on there being a second part. It seems like these 4 episodes are it. And I was a little surprised by the end of the show with how they finished up. That was, it felt like the middle of a series. It kind of felt like the end of part 1, and then part 2 was to come later on, because they don't necessarily leave it off with a definitive ending. There's no kind of conclusion other than they are kind of solidly into their roles at that point. There's been a little bit of, sort of infighting. There's been a few stories set up, characters introduced. We've had a lot of fun, but there's no resolution to some of the major story points. So I was a little surprised that there wasn't a second part set to be released. Maybe there will be at some point in the future, but it's not been announced yet. So let's talk about it. Now, again, I didn't know what to expect coming into this, and I moderately enjoy the Lego stuff. I mean, Lego and Star Wars have been producing things for almost 20 years now, I think. I think mid-2000s was when they started to produce the Lego video games. I played some of those, when I started my original channel back in 2016-17, and I kind of enjoyed them. It was a great game for, like, community interaction. People wanted to see me play them, and we had fun streaming it, but they're not games that I would normally go out and buy on my own and play on my own time. As a kid, I used to love Lego, don't get me wrong, but this was in the days before they cost, £100 a brick. And they only came in the sets that you had to pre-build. This is back when you could buy a bucket of just random Lego blocks and you could build whatever you wanted. And it was really cheap, so it was kind of that era. Again, with the Christmas special, the holiday special that came out, I think it was last year maybe, or the year before. I enjoyed that. It was a little silly, it was nothing too serious. I didn't take it too serious, but I enjoyed it. So again, coming into this series, I was kind of like, okay, I'm not going to take it too serious, but I'm very intrigued by what they could do with, some of the, the mix-em-up scenarios. And, straight off the bat, what I'll say is that I wasn't expecting it to be kind of an overarching story. I thought there was going to be 4 separate episodes detailing different things. Like the what ifs. What if this happened? What if that happened? So to see the first episode taken up almost, in fact, exclusively by the introduction of, the 2 brothers, and the idea of, I think, was it the Cornerstone they called it? And just kind of setting the stage for the next 3 episodes was surprising to me. Halfway through the episode, I was like, oh, okay, so yeah, this is actually going to be a Lego story built into this Star Wars universe that will, at some point, obviously change things around. It's including a lot of, original characters. Already in the first episode, there's a lot of jokes about nerf herders, and they set the stage for a few things later down the line. And, so I wasn't expecting that coming into it. And so then we get, like the next 3 episodes where then it becomes apparent what exactly is going to happen, the mix-up of the galaxy. And I've got to say, first and foremost, the idea of using how Lego is, the fact that you can interchange things to, quite literally translate that onto screen, rather than it being a case of, what if this person was bad or this person was good. It was literally like you take the building blocks of certain things and mix them around, like having the X-Fighters, which is the cockpit of the TIE Fighter with the X-Wing wings, the S-foils. And, I thought that was very clever. Because that, Lego, it is very flexible, it's very adaptable, there's loads of customization options you can have. And some of the things were a little obvious, the Dark Falcon. As cool as it looked, it was a little predictable. And I'd say that by the end of the 4th episode, that was maybe where things in my mind were heading. I was like, okay, well, this is predictable now, because they're kind of swapping things around almost as you would expect. Like, the bad guys are the good guys in terms of Palpatine, Vader, Jabba, and some of the good guys are the bad guys, Dark Rey, Darth Tico, and Darth Jar Jar, which, again, I will say I enjoy how they weren't afraid to, make fun of themselves and, to kind of break the fourth wall at points. Darth Jar Jar has been a theory for almost a decade now, I think, maybe longer. And so to see them kind of embrace that is a lot of fun, and it's refreshing to see them not be afraid to poke a little fun at themselves. Again, another one was the Ewok and the Wookiee comparison, because in Return of the Jedi, it was supposed to be Wookiees, not Ewoks. So misremembering it is kind of a fun way of saying, well, that's what it was supposed to be. So in terms of the shake-up, I felt at first it was quite fun and fresh, and it was interesting to see, clone troopers that are actually Admiral Akbar. It's always fun because you just don't know what the potential is. But by the 4th episode, I felt like some of the choices they were making were a little obvious, but it was still fun. I wasn't that bothered. I'm not gonna harshly criticize a show that's there for fun. But if there was anything to necessarily say that I would have liked to have seen more of, it would have been more out there kind of ideas, swapping things around in a more extreme fashion. But for the most part, it was really fun. I especially liked the way that they made the Mon Cala cruisers into Star Destroyers. That was pretty interesting. So the story itself, it's kind of, it's cliche. You've got these 2 brothers, who are kind of opposites of each other, and when the universe gets scrambled up, they become literal opposites on the side of the Force. And you've got that kind of underlying romantic story, which, I can leave that out. It's not something that I necessarily need in a fun Lego show, but it's there because, there are going to be some people who will enjoy that, and that's fair. Not everything has to be for me. But it's something that I can, give or take, not really that bothered. It's a journey of the hero trying to embrace the fact that, he doesn't necessarily want this responsibility. He doesn't want to be the hero. And then, lo and behold, goes on an adventure and he begins to embrace it. And, there's a lot of fun in here. And again, kind of like some of the things that they all get up to. It's quite interesting, and I'm thinking to myself with the voice actors as well. I do recognise a few of them, obviously, from previous Star Wars roles. The only one that made my kind of piqued my interest was thinking about Mark Hamill and whether Mark Hamill voiced Luke in this, and I don't think it was, but it sounded very close to him. Again, I haven't really looked this up. I've just kind of watched the shows and just turned on the camera, but for the most part, I thought the voice acting was pretty damn good. And again, so were the sound, the audio was great as well. Animation is always fantastic. They really capture the kind of look of Lego. It makes you feel like it's stop motion, and maybe there is a mix of stop motion and CGI, but to me it felt like it was mostly just CGI designed to make it look like stop motion in Lego. And the way they make everything look similar to the Lego sets is great as well. I get a feeling that this is kind of just like the main motivator is to be able to push a load of Lego sets, which, they have. There is quite a few of the Lego sets out there specifically for this show. But at least they do a good job at making everything look representative of what you're likely to buy in the shops if, you're into buying all of the Lego stuff. So, overall, I'd say that it was a fun story. I'm just a little surprised at how they kind of stopped it, with there not being a massive kind of resolution to it all. And to be honest, them saying that, look, this isn't a situation where everything gets messed up and then you're able to fix it. This is kind of like everything's messed up and it's staying messed up. It's kind of that way. Again, which is different. I appreciate them taking risks on that. Not that, it shouldn't take risks, because it's not a serious show. It's not canon. It's just there to be a little bit of fun. But like I say, by the 4th episode, I was kind of like, okay, kind of predictable, but I'm still having fun, And I like the little details as well. There were some really fine little details there, callbacks to certain shots. I think the most obvious one was the binary sunsets with Luke. But even the way some of the shots are kind of done with camera work, like the space battle, some of the shots were very akin to the Return of Jedi space battle. Clearly, when they crash into the hangar, that's very much like Revenge of the Sith. And even some little details, like Luke has Padme's, kind of the thing, the little necklace that Anakin gave her. Even Rose has got the Hazian smelt, half moon crescent thing that she's got around her neck. So there's some really fine details in there in terms of, like people paying attention and just making it reflect the actual Star Wars movies and things like that. And I've got to say as well, I did laugh a little bit at the Landalorian. I thought that was a great thing. And again, that's why I think that there is probably going to be a second part to this, because the idea of it being Lando as a Mandalorian alongside what looked to be an evil baby Grogu, I'm kind of interested to see where they go with that. And I feel like that, this may well depend on the toy sales before they go further. But I feel like, they do have more story to tell there. But it was fun for what it was. Like I say, a little short mini-series, 4 episodes, about an hour and a half overall of content. Again, just fun. That's all it needed to be. It's not fantastic. It's not exactly my cup of tea, but I enjoyed watching it. I'm not likely to go back and watch it again, but some people will really enjoy this. And, I think that that's really what the base requirement should be, is do people, for the most part, enjoy it? Yes. And because it's not a canon show, you don't have to worry about people complaining about, this is breaking canon and all that. Because, although I'm sure there is some still people who will complain about this. But I had fun with it. I enjoyed it. And I do hope they make a second part just to kind of see where things go. But again, I won't be massively upset if they don't. But we'll see where it goes with that. But as I say, I've had a very busy week. I've got another busy weekend coming up. I'm hoping to get back on track with things like aimless articles and some live streams, play some old retro games. And as I say, we're not far off from Skeleton Crew. That's coming up very quickly. Again, time is just passing by too fast for me to really think about. So if you haven't, please do consider subscribing, because we've got a lot of content coming up in the future. Let me know what you thought of the show in the comments. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.